Here we are in the second week of Eastertide, a time which is associated with sunshine and new birth, new growth. And so I thought it was appropriate to come out into the garden today to record this message. When I was a teenager growing up in Gloucestershire, we had a public park near to us. It was a beautiful park, always well planted. And in the centre of it was a bird bath, quite a large one. And all around the rim was engraved a poem, and the words have always stuck with me. The kiss of the sun for pardon, the song of the birds for mirth. One is nearer God's heart in a garden than anywhere else on earth. In subsequent years I found out they were written by Dorothy Frances Gurney and form part of a much longer poem. But it seems to encapsulate what a day like this is all about. We promised a decent weekend, and so this sun that's shining on me now, kiss of the sun for pardon. We can feel nearer to God's heart in a garden. Most of us are lucky that we have some outside space which we can enjoy, where we can be at one with nature. It always feels so wonderful. That's when God can speak to us, when we're alone, just wandering around, looking at the plants, enjoying the fresh air. As well as poetry, tunes can sometimes get into our heads. This morning I woke up with a hymn tune rattling around and I couldn't get rid of it. Sometimes we call those things earworms, when you have a tune that you just can't get rid of. Well, the tune went round and round in my head, so eventually I stopped, got a hymn book and looked at the words, which I hadn't looked at for some time. I think most of you know I love the old revivalist hymns, especially those with that American flavour to them. And this tune that was rattling around is called Olivet. The words were written by Ray Palmer, who was an academic who'd been lecturing at one of the American universities. I think it was Yale. And when he came out of the university and down the steps, he had a vision of the risen Lord. And so it was that he penned these words really as a prayer, as a state of how he was feeling at that moment. The hymn is simply called My Faith Looks Up to Thee. If you haven't heard it, go on to Google that first line, and you'll find all sorts of variations of it. It's a little bit like karaoke. The words will come up and the tune will be played and you can sing along with it. And I ask you to learn it, because I guarantee you'll be having it in church before too much longer. Wonderful hymn, wonderful words. But it was the third verse that struck me today. While life's dark maze I tread, and griefs around me spread, be thou my guide. Bid darkness turn to day, wipe sorrow's tears away, nor let me ever stray from thee aside. Well, we're in the middle of a dark maze, aren't we? There's no getting away from that. And there is grief around. We can't escape that either. But be thou my guide. If we hang on to the Lord, if we hang on to the glory of the resurrection, if we hang on to all that we know Easter to be about, then we won't go far wrong, and we will have a constant guide and a companion. God is good. God is great. God is with you and with me. And we can feel his presence in a garden like this. Oh yes, the grass needs mowing. The bushes need trimming. But nevertheless, we are here in the countryside, enjoying all that God has given us. And in our isolation, in our lockdown, we can still feel that he is very near indeed.